Thank you. It's a great delight to be here. I've never read in Manchester. I was thinking I've read in all the B places, from Birmingham to Bradford to Bangladesh, but I've never read in Manchester, so it's a great pleasure. And it's particularly wonderful to be here with my friends Simon and Robin as well, and we're collaborating for the first time on trying to put a sound piece of poetry together with the music. But first I will read from my new collection, newish, Tear Up the Lace, and I'll read 4 or 5 poems. The piece that we'll do together is quite dark, so I'm going to start a bit lighter, hopefully. You can tell I'm not from the north, but I've lived here most of my life now, I think. But I still sometimes have a mixed relationship, and Robin and I are from over the border, the wrong side of the Pennines in Yorkshire, so it's more relates to that, but it kind of relates to being in the north anyway. I went into the commercial in Slathwaite, West Yorkshire, and slowly downed a pint of cider, tasting of childhood. The giant barrel next to the coal shed where I kept a rock hammer hung on a nail. My hemp bag was full of paper, books, that one about the peregrine, which begins with a long ridge like the hull of a submarine and flies through a shredded sky. The pub had been upgraded, wine barred, bellies and boldies had moved on, found a home up the hill at the shoulder. But a trio hung on like a grim documentary. A local cowboy, denimed and sideboarded, babbled of stolen goods and "What will me mum do?" to a couple who sat like individual puddings. I read, my head clouded, and I left, ducking under the railway bridge, beneath leaves speed-pressed to Teflon on the sleek, slow worm silver of the rails. Out in the wet, wet night, I thought, how did I end up here? Under tough stars, at the beginning of another winter. I grew up in Mallow Hills, pressed in the folds of the Midlands. Lovely thatch, that grass snake on the cut trunk, hawthorn, blackthorn, and elm in the hedge. Why did I ever come north? Graffiti on dripping walls, fog in the throat, a way to nothing, like the sliver paths between the heather, trudging up to a glowing, one-hawked sky. Of work in the Asian communities of West Yorkshire and further afield, and this is from a sequence called Mosque, which is in Tear Up the Lace, which is about my relationship with a group of older Punjabi men and their lives. And this one's called Mr. Sunny. Mr. Sunny is Suraj, who is a owner of a clothes shop in Halifax, and it's a ghazal, so it's a Persian form with lots and lots of repetitions of internal rhymes and end rhymes, and the rhyme sun has to end every couplet as well. Mr. Sunny, Suraj, my name, once sown in sweet corn heat, means sun. A proper Yorkshireman, a good Kashmiri son. With battered book in hand, back home from school I'd run to drive the oxen, a ploughboy buried brown by sun. And then this foreign home, unspoken rules, keep mum, don't answer back, sweep dust and never see the sun. In just a year I gained a weaver's rapid thumb and learnt this awkward tongue in bone-tired daytime sun. I taught my friends our new home's words and spread my son among their bread bun roti, cool Bishmillah sons. By selling door to door in wind-blown streets, I've done what we all hoped, grown shops and vans in English sun. Now retired, I phone around and sort out everyone, buys a bit of When in Rome in different sun. So why do some see hidden bombs and rattling gun when this Halifax man roams the streets in showery sun? If others ask what's in your homespun heart, Suraj, don't speak of heavy rain, uncloud the sun. This is one which bears relation to something which was perhaps more in the news last year, which was these strange things that women wear on their heads called fascinators, sort of spacecraft and alien beings that they wear. So my elder daughter got married, and 2 years ago. So it's at that time, every woman had to have a fascinator, and so my wife bought a fascinator, and I kind of knew I would never see it again except on the wedding day. So I've perpetuated its memory in this poem called Fascinator. Fascinator. Reptilian, chameleon's crest, or avian, jungle fowl, hunted and plucked, arranged, accessorized for a stomp in the clearing. In your hair, a hushed bounce of wire and aquamarine, an air net of birds shake, a peck and pock of flutter, leaf curls in a puff of breeze. A signifier at this love fest where everyone's tooled up in tightness and hire for a nest leaving, a quiver of kept-in feelings. We preserve it like a bouquet or champagne flute in the car boot as we crisscross the country from strawberry farm to cast iron pier, fish scale sky, deep blue sea peas. Proud feathers will drift in dust, occasionally flutter on the shelf before they become planta nocturna, wardrobe foliage, a still jig, exquisite flight piece, memory wisp. So before we work together, I'm going to do a slightly more serious one, which is based on the memory of Bhopal. I've often wanted to write about Bhopal and the disaster there, and in this last year there's been the controversy about the firm that was going to wrap the Olympic Stadium that's bought the firm that's responsible for Bhopal. For the poets among you, this is a sestina, something I rarely write, so it has 6 rhymes that repeat in different orders and then all together at the end. And it's particularly about the untouchables of Bhopal, who really still are at the bottom of the heap and still in suffering. And the title is a name for the untouchables. Kisi Kam Ka Nahin, of absolutely no worth. Beside a rusting tower, a boy plays. He kicks a football before a sudden fall. It could be somewhere here, Teesside, or the greys of Ellesmere Port, girders, a flaking city of tubes and funnels, holding tanks, skulls sprayed on a wall, and a roost of shabby birds. They say on that night, even passing birds dropped from the sky, but a boy still plays where cows' eyes bubbled in splitting skulls. They say thousands died in their sleep before the fall of ash dimmed the daylight of the city where row after row was laid under blanket greys. Now, in the evening reds and morning greys, tangles of bushes and wire echo with birds. The flare sight still taunts this lake city, where a mother pumps water and a boy plays among leaking drums before a sudden fall and a football that rolls away in a place of skulls. They say on that night the delicate skulls of babies glowed like street lamps. The mud greys of shanty floors were stained red by the fall of boiling blood, while all the shrieking birds fell silent as families' shrine displays of flowered gods melted in the beloved city. 26 years later, a mother of this city walks through a hole in a wall by furious skulls. She grips her son's hand as he stubbornly plays with a football dusted by the poisoned greys of soil from beside a rusting tower where birds nest, and he's grazed his knee in a sudden fall. They say on that night the leaf fall from the street-worn trees was complete, and the city gave up its thousands who were helpless as birds caught in a firestorm, burning from inside their skulls. And yet where gas flared, goats graze, a mother pumps water, and a boy plays. A boy born without a nose takes a fall near a wall of painted skulls. Under a scrap roof in a branded city, his mother cleans his greys as he sings like the birds that nest in the tower where he plays.